yes.
What's good, y'all? It's your man's IRLnash back in this bitch in the Pokemon Center as always. Got my man's Visionary Wordsmith with me, and today, let me pick up the mic. Today we gonna be doing this video. It is beloved celebrities who weren't good people. We gonna see. Shout out Matty Balls. Pause.
What do you mean by
We
that?
always do that. But, you know, he always putting up some great videos. That kid is spectacular. Let's get to it. Let's do this real quick.
Recently, I did a video called Beloved Musicians Who Were Horrible People, where I took a look into artists that a lot of people love, but weren't so great behind the scenes. It always comes as a shock that someone who can be such a great artist, musician, actor, whatever it may be, can also be a bad person behind closed doors. So today, I wanted to look into some celebrities that many of us love that might not have been the greatest people, starting off with Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan is arguably one of the most beloved people in Hollywood. In all of his movies, he plays a goofy, happy, good guy.
I heard him and his son don't get along, and the Chinese feds bust in on his son. Pause.
Yeah.
For some weeds.
Yeah. His son, he had to pay some monies.
Little cheese.
You know what I'm saying? So his son ain't representing.
Little
the
extra
Chan,
cheddar on
the
top.
Chan name.
Yeah, man. Hey, shit. If it ain't Chan, it's. I was trying to think of a cheese that went with that. And if it ain't Chan, it's cheese. Anyway.
And that's just how he presents himself in interviews as well. And as a huge fan of Rush Hour, I was shocked and saddened to hear that he was not the greatest guy. And don't get me wrong, I don't think Jackie Chan's the worst person ever. He's not like Hitler, but he's definitely had a lot of major flaws throughout his life.
One of his first movies in America, you talking about, I didn't think he was a good, that nigga said, "What's up, my nigga?"
You gotta think about who he was co-starring with, you know what I'm saying? You gotta think about who he was co-starring with. I'm sure
No. We're not giving them that. I can't lie. We can't give them that.
Hey man, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes they be like, this is what we gotta do to make the movie work.
Shit.
It's gonna hit.
If that was Charleston Heston that said that shit, niggas would have been pissed.
I imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, no, fuck that. You know, Jackie Chan can't say that shit neither. That nigga said, "What's up, my nigga?" He said it 3 times. He beat every nigga ass in the...
Painfully admitted in his memoir. One thing that many people have critiqued about Jackie Chan is his relationship with his kids. For starters, his son JC has been the victim of what sounds like brutal parenting. Jackie himself has said in his memoir, "In the past, whenever I saw my son, I scolded him. Whenever I went on television, I criticized him. There was never a kind word said." But he wasn't just strict. He also said that he had hit his son, saying, "When my son JC was still young, I hit him once and was very heavy-handed, directly lifting him and throwing him onto the sofa. That time
you beat the shit out that nigga. No, that ain't heavy-handed. Nigga, you beat your son ass."
Oh.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm sorry. I get it. People gonna be like, "That's why kids are soft." No. Kids not soft because they not getting beat up on their sofas. That's not the way that softness works. Pause. But that's not the way that being soft works. If your kid is tough, your kid is tough. It don't matter if that nigga grow up in the most plush environments. To be real with you, I've met kids who was tough as shit and they had money. And I'm not saying that the grind don't make you tough. I'm not saying that. But what I'm trying to say is like, bro, low key, that's a mentality.
Well, money doesn't equal softness though.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
And
so you gotta think
being broke don't equal hardness.
That's true as well.
So that's the dynamic I'm trying to say. If your kid is a tough person, it doesn't matter about the environment they grew up in. I know great football players who are tough. Them niggas grew up in San Bernardino.
Okay.
There's other great football players who are tough, and them niggas grew up in the slums in Florida. But they the same kind of tough.
I think the environment establishes the foundation.
Yeah.
And the development of the character determines the toughness.
But we not talking about character. We talking about just the toughness. Pause. Like, I get what you're saying, definitely. Where they go, the routes that they're able to branch off into, definitely. But what I'm saying is that just the toughness specifically. You can't teach, just like you can't teach speed. It's kids who grow up in lavish luxury who fast as shit. Speed ain't just something that happens in the ghetto.
It can be trained though. You can train
no,
for speed.
definitely. But I'm not saying that.
Okay.
I'm saying that when you look at inherent speed, that's something that you can't teach.
That's true.
And there's a lot of kids in every place, no matter where you look, that have that type of speed.
So you think some children just have an inherent toughness?
Exactly. There's some kids who have an inherent maturity to them.
Okay.
Not to get on no weird shit, because I ain't trying to say it like that. I'm trying to say that it's some young men specifically who know that at 10, 12, 13, 15, they want to go to the NFL, and they have to make that decision at that point to get themselves to the NFL. That's not something that you just come into, pause. And the people who do are the motherfuckers who are just gifted. But a lot of people not that gifted. So most of the people who get to the NFL or NBA and places like this, they work their ass off to get to that place.
Yeah, you got to.
That's what I'm saying. But it was also that inherent ability of saying like this. Niggas can be tough, and you can say your routes that you took from that was based off that, but you was already tough when you was born. When you was born, you was tough. When you was born, you was gonna be this mature. When you was born, you had this speed. It was about you taking the ability and then taking the chances on that ability to make yourself greater.
Strength +3, right out the nutsack.
Hey.
Scared him and his mother to death. I myself was very regretful, and apparently his son was only 2 years old at the time. His fame and fortune had him living a wild life. As he said in his memoir, he was balling out. I mean, he was a rags to riches story, so of course it makes sense. But at the same time, he got married and had a kid, which he said it was an accident which conceived JC. I never thought of getting married, but I felt it was akin to being forced to get married. So he was sort of living this double life, as he detailed in his memoir, saying, all day I drink and drive. In the morning, bashing a Porsche, and in the evening, bashing a Mercedes. Every day I was in a dizzied state. He was living the lifestyle you'd expect from a young, rich actor. I mean, a lot of us would probably do the same. But the difference was he had a wife and a kid.
That is the life of just a regular nigga. I know normal people who live like that.
Depending on the person.
I know normal niggas who living like that.
Home, but that didn't stop
like
him, and he would frequently go to clubs and cheat on his
wife.
He even had a girl that he called number 9, which is absolutely insane. Apparently, he would hang around with her quite often. While Jackie was off living his crazy life, he rarely ever saw his son, which resulted in a pretty estranged relationship where eventually they seemed to have lost contact. And also, while he was off living his crazy life, he had an affair while he was married, which resulted in a daughter. His daughter, Etta, or Lane, I've seen both in articles, went viral in 2018 at the age of 18 for saying that she and her girlfriend were homeless. She said, "We've been homeless for a month due to homophobic parents. We pretty much slept under a bridge and other things. We've gone to the police, we've gone to hospitals, the food banks, the LGBTQ community shelters, and all of them don't give a shit." She's also previously expressed...
Let me ask you something. Is that something that you would be caught up on?
Like, if I had a homosexual child?
Yeah.
No, not me.
Man,
yeah, okay.
I just don't understand that part. It's just like, gee, I can even say, like, I don't agree with some of the things you do, but gee, I'm always rocking with you.
It's society, man.
I'm always rocking with you. That's always 100%. Now, I might not like the shit you do personally as a person, but that's with everybody.
Man.
That's with anybody. But that's the thing, is like, I was still always, it's a lot of shit that everybody do that I don't like.
We just need good quality humans on the planet. That's it.
Bingo.
That's all we need.
Bingo. I don't, hey.
That she has no relationship with him, saying that Jackie has never existed in my life. I will never regard him as a father. I would not say that he is my dad. I would say, oh, Jackie Chan, an actor. Her mom has said in response to this, I feel that if they have no money, they should go find work. They shouldn't film a clip telling others they are broke and who Etta's father is. People all over the world work hard and don't rely on someone else's fame to get money. I guess I could see what the mom is saying, but at the same time, that's like, Jackie Chan. If anyone seems like they'd be the right person to go to for help, it would be Jackie Chan. So yeah, I think it's safe to say that he isn't the best dad or husband. Also, people have criticized him for being pro Chinese Communist Party. I think that's a little more in the gray area, but cheating on your wife constantly, drinking and driving, beating your son, and abandoning your daughter, I think are all objectively pretty bad. However, one person who isn't quite as lovable yet similarly successful to Jackie Chan is Jimmy Kimmel, and he actually has quite the dark past. Jimmy Kimmel is debatably one of the most iconic late night talk show hosts of the modern era. Whether it's on Jimmy Kimmel Live or when he's hosting a plethora of award shows, Jimmy always always has maintained a positive public persona, especially as it goes for comedians. But as nice as he appears, Jimmy has made some pretty wild mistakes, which a lot of modern fans probably wouldn't believe. I actually remember watching Jimmy Kimmel.
I was just like, who is this nigga? And then they like, oh, he a comedian. What Jimmy Kimmel special you ever watch? When you ever see that nigga at the Laugh Factory? They probably did. Now, let me not say that.
I don't know if it's
because I was never
he was a talk show host. I don't even know, how do people become talk show hosts?
By being comedians.
Really?
Yes, most talk show hosts are comedians. David Letterman.
Arsenio was.
Right? Arsenio Hall.
Arsenio was.
Monique.
She was a talk show host though?
Yeah, Monique had the Monique show.
I'm thinking about like late night though.
Yeah, George Lopez. Yeah, she had a late night talk show.
Okay.
George Lopez, like majority of Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah.
All the Jimmys.
Yeah. I guess I ain't even think of that.
Yeah. That is your, like, that was a lot of times most comedians rise to fame. That's why they would put on other comedians, and a lot of comedians would get their first break was being like going on the late night shows, because it was a comic who was the host of the late night. Jay Leno. Jay Leno is a comic. They say Jay Leno used to kill. Yeah, they say Jay Leno used to kill back in the day.
Know that? I don't know.
Yeah, bro, they say Jay Leno used to be a dog on the comedy shit back in the day, like for real. So yeah, even a lot of the black, like I said, Monique had a show. I think it was on BET though. That's why a lot of people didn't watch it. But it had a couple seasons.
As a kid, and my mom telling me, "Oh, you know this guy's like a piece of shit." And I was like, "What are you talking about, Mom? He's cool." And what my mom referenced was one of his earliest shows, The Man Show, which started back in 1999.
Oh man, you talking about a whole lot of ugly on the stream? Nigga, you the ugliest nigga on this bitch. If we being honest, and you only in text. How you ugly in text?
From the intro alone, I'm sure you can imagine the early 2000s vibe, which probably wouldn't pass today. The Man Show had a big part in launching Jimmy Kimmel into stardom, and it's been called proudly crass, racist, and transphobic. On top of this, it has even been accused of celebrating chauvinism by treating women as disposable F-puppets. However, despite controversy, Jimmy recently has maintained that the Man Show sketches were created in jest, but acknowledged that viewers were divided in their ability to recognize the show's satire, which seems like a PR-crafted cop-out answer.
That's just like that one girl who said, what she said? I practice, because I can't even say it, because she was trying to say misandry. But she said, I practice, hypergamy. That's what she was saying.
I ain't gonna lie, my eyebrows went up when he said that, because I was like, they talking about summoning spirits? Like shamanism?
That bitch said, I practice hypergamy. You practice hypergamy?
Hey man,
you can't even say the shit that you want. It's hypergamy.
Vocabulary.
That bitch said I practice hypergamy. No doubt. I mean, it's pretty some shit that the Hulk got. That's why he that nigga now. So you trying to be the Hulk of bitches. You trying to be She-Hulk.
That's hilarious.
Is what the show is about. And it's kind of hard to see the satire in groping women on camera, making fun of their weight, mortifying them on the street, and just outright objectifying them. All themes of which were present in the show's premiere.
And just as these heroic men did more than 60 years ago, we are building a dam.
A dam to hold back the tidal wave of feminization that is flooding this country.
A dam to stop the river of estrogen that is drowning us in political correctness.
A dam to...
This just looked like a campaign for the conservative party right here. Like, I can't lie. This is the shit that I be seeing when I'm watching YouTube.
You know, old granny video.
To urinate off of when we're really drunk.
We call this dam The Man Show.
This sort of reminds me of that Howard Stern show called Butterface, which I think everyone knows Howard Stern's a piece of crap, but I watched that show with my friends and I was like, wow, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. I feel so bad for them. These statements are pretty wild compared to how Jimmy publicly holds himself today. I mean, just look at this contrast.
If we are successful here, if we can work together to stop sexual harassment in the workplace. To get started, I want to take a moment to recognize and acknowledge International Women's Day, which was marked today.
Nigga sound like LeBron James. First off, happy International Women's Day. You see that video? Of
I have
LeBron?
not. No, I haven't seen that
LeBron
one.
was on the sideline with Jenny Buss, just wearing some regular clothes. That nigga said, first off, happy International Women's Day.
LeBron knows how to work the media.
Seems
Both
like
years on.
almost every year now,
The
all
Lakers
thanks to
playing.
the women's suffrage movement.
Led by Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony, pioneers in the field of bitching, moaning, and complaining.
All right, so
But after all their struggle and sacrifice, how many women today even know what the word suffrage means?
No, this is offensive. Women's suffrage is the right for women to vote.
No.
Suffrage gives women the right to vote. They're making fun of you.
No.
They're white men who are wasting energy.
We're not
time,
white.
and
We're
money
not white.
on-
What are you, from Cameroon?
The show was packed full of harmful and recurring segments like The Man Show Boy, where an 11-year-old walked up to women and said crude things. There was also others called The Juggy Talent Show, Special Report, Toplessness in America, Can I Guess Your Weight, Wife School, Guess What's in My Pants, Household Hints from Adult Film Stars, and so on.
Hold
The
up.
point is, the show was
can't
practically...
be the same Jimmy Kimmel that be pandering.
Money.
This can't be the same Jimmy Kimmel who got...
Money.
Oh, that's
Money.
crazy, brody. That's crazy.
Money.
I can't hold you up. That's wild.
That's what do it.
I knew who Jimmy Kimmel was a little bit. I never watched the Man Show though. I was too young probably at this point. But this is wild.
early manosphere
That's
type
why.
of stuff, which is very surprising
I gotta
considering
do
Jimmy
my
today
due
is known to be
diligence.
pretty politically correct. But Jimmy's attempts at humor weren't limited to sexism, as he also did some racism in the form of blackface. He wore this multiple times on The Man Show.
As Karl Malone get older, he started thinking
No,
about things like dropping down dead. People are always asking Karl Malone, is there love?
What the fuck?
I'm gonna be quiet about this part.
Bro. This nigga look like Carlos Boozer. He don't look like Carl Malone. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, they really worked on like the arm muscle.
Gee, that's
You
what I
know,
was like,
I'm
low-key,
looking at that like,
pause,
yeah,
but
yeah.
What do you mean?
that's
They put effort into it.
too much.
Life after death? Well, Karl Malone don't know. Some folk believe you're going to heaven or
You ain't gonna get me caught up.
Whoa. That's wild. That is crazy, bro.
to hell.
My body is my temple. That's why I start every morning with a brisk aerobic workout.
That's supposed to be Oprah?
But I can't do it alone. Workouts are easier when you have a partner. My workout partner is my maid, Marguerite.
These skits were forgotten for a pretty long time until 2020, where they started recirculating again in the mainstream. Obviously, Jimmy faced a lot of backlash, since for even early 2000s standards, those were some objectively bold swings and misses. Jimmy eventually apologized and said, "There's nothing more important to me than your respect, and I apologize to those who were genuinely hurt or offended by the makeup I wore or the..."
Why do they say that? I apologize to those people who were hurt. Why is it not, I apologize for doing things that hurt people? Why
Because
is
they're
it-
only saying it to make
No,
people.
definitely.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's like, can y'all not get better people around you who can make a better apology? Like, fuck.
They don't really care. It's just pacification.
That's crazy to me, bro.
words I spoke. He still did these things though, and I'm sure he was old enough to know better, so they don't really hold up that well. He continued in his
Blackface.
apology saying, "I believe that I have
Being born,
evolved and
you're old
matured
enough
over the
to know
last 20
better.
plus years, and I hope that is evident to
Hey,
anyone
wow.
who watches my show. I
Should
know that
be
this will
doing
not
that
be the last I hear of this,
anywhere
and
but
that it
in
will be
America
used again to try to
specifically,
quiet me.
right?
But his actions are worse than just bad decisions. All of these harmful public behaviors were an attempt to boost his own career off the back of popularizing and taking advantage of different forms of hate, which is pretty lame if you ask me. However, when it comes to talk show hosts, Jimmy is far from the only undercover asshole. For years, if not almost decades, Ellen DeGeneres
I
was
couldn't
loved
believe
by
that
millions
shit.
for her positivity
I
and
couldn't.
quick-witted humor.
It's
But
been
as some of you
stated
may
for a
know,
while
the
for
facade
Ellen.
of her public personality was
couldn't
exposed
believe
a
it,
couple
but I
years ago.
didn't.
In 2022, Ellen
I
hosted
guess
the
I
last
didn't
episode
want
of the
to.
Ellen DeGeneres Show. This included
And I
segments
wasn't
featuring
an
massive
Ellen
names
fan,
like
but
Billie
I was
Eilish,
like,
Pink,
Ellen.
Jennifer Aniston, and Ellen even ended with a
You
tearful
can look at her
monologue.
face.
Because of
and
this
tell, though.
platform, we have been able.
Oh, and another comedian.
Yeah,
Comedian.
yeah. I guess I never
and change
questioned it
people's
with her.
lives. And this show has forever changed my life. It is the greatest experience I have ever had. Beyond my wildest imagination.
You
But
are
after
the
19
jesters
seasons,
of
many
the
wondered
world
why was the
to
show
be the
ending.
greatest
Well, for those
people
of you
in
that don't
America.
know,
That's
it
like,
all
that's
started
how
in
it
July
works.
of 2020 after BuzzFeed
They
published a
jesters.
series of stories in which
They
employees
keep
on
it
the
real.
Ellen DeGeneres show
Once you take
alleged
that away from
racism,
them,
sexual misconduct,
they
and
keep it real with
intimidation
other
at the hands of
people.
executive
In the
producers.
wrong
Since
ways,
Ellen's
it
whole
seems
brand
like.
was positivity, this
Great
came as quite
comedians
the
operate
bombshell
from
to her
pain.
millions of fans,
Gotcha.
and also a new weapon
If you
for
are
her
a good
haters. The
comedian,
controversy gained a lot of momentum fairly
feel like
quickly, which prompted an
good
investigation by Warner Media, and it caused her to
are
apologize
great
multiple
politicians.
times, with one being on
They just
Instagram
chose to
Live
do
and
something
another
else.
on her actual show.
I'm
I
just
don't know.
so
It's a different kind of game, different kind
sorry.
of pressure.
I feel like some of the greatest
That
comedians in this
it's
world,
come
they
to
could have
this.
been the
But
best
the issue that
politicians,
made all of this
especially
worse
the
was it wasn't
orator
just a few
skill that it
one-off
takes to
accounts from
become a
employees.
politician.
One Australian
like,
radio
they
host said
already
he was
have
instructed
that.
not to look
And
at
I
or
think
talk
that
to
with
Ellen
Donald
DeGeneres
Trump
when
shit that
working
we
with her in
used to-
2013. And even other celebrities expressed the
got
same
y'all.
sentiment.
I
Like
got
4
y'all.
months before the
You got
BuzzFeed
y'all.
articles, when
Keep
comedian
going.
Kevin T. Porter called DeGeneres notoriously one of the meanest people alive in a Twitter thread that quickly went viral for the number of responses it garnered from those who dealt with her. And after accusations like these, along with the articles, the whole thing went viral, with people online pointing out a bunch
can
of
make
examples of
people laugh,
Ellen
you
being
can make
foul,
people
like
vocal.
when she outed Mariah Carey's pregnancy on the show by goading her into drinking champagne.
I won't
People are
necessarily say
saying
that.
She was
that you're
pregnant.
pregnant. There's rumors.
Don't discuss that.
All right. Well, you don't have to
No,
answer.
that's okay.
So
No,
let's drink
honestly,
You don't have to
champagne.
answer me. Let's just toast with champagne. Let's toast to you not being pregnant. If you're not pregnant, then we
Oh
should.
my goodness. I can't.
Which in that case turned out especially poor, as Mariah later had a miscarriage. Another example comes from the 2013 Taylor Swift interview, where Ellen pushed an uncomfortable Taylor.
Can't just move past that.
Jeez.
Love and respect. That's wild.
To talk about her love life and pretty much bullied her.
We're here with your boyfriend Zac Efron last time. How's he doing?
We actually never dated.
Yes, you did.
I don't know. I haven't talked to him in a while because we didn't date.
Yes, you did. Why do you deny it?
Because we didn't.
Oh, okay. Which song is about Zac on the new CD?
There's nothing really about Zac on the CD because we didn't date.
All right.
So, yeah.
Okay. All right, let's talk about
No one
your number
cares
one
about
hit.
this.
We are never,
Zac
ever, ever,
Efron.
ever, ever gonna
Yeah, I
get back
get it.
together.
Don't make somebody feel that uncomfortable. But y'all passed up, Matt. You went through the bullshit with the champagne just for us to hear about Zac Efron and her talking to making Taylor Swift feel uncomfortable. Hey, I feel like one of these
Taylor
is a
Swift
lot.
is a real big deal, but some.
I feel
more
like
serious
one
than
of
the
these
other.
is
Yeah,
way
yeah.
more different than the other one
Yeah.
is.
Who's that about? Here's what I'll do. You don't have to say. I'm going to show pictures. Here's a bell, and you ring it when.
Oh my God.
All right.
We got that shit
We'll show
from
pictures.
I don't know if I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, you will.
This is the one thing that I have. It's like the one shred of
Bohemian
dignity that
Rose.
I have. Is I know that.
What do you mean one shred of dignity?
I'm
You're
just
filled
not
with
gonna.
dignity.
Bohemian
You-
Rose.
But people go and make guesses about it, and the only thing that I have is like that one
Okay.
card.
Ring it on 3 different guys. We'll narrow it down. So ring it 3 different times.
What do I don't know what I'm.
John
You're supposed to
Mayer.
ring
But
what?
I don't
Yeah.
want to. I don't want to.
All right, I'll ring
Don't
it.
send me
Mayer.
angry email.
John Mayer Continuum album, fucking fire. If you've never heard it, go listen to it.
But I don't want to get
I'll
them.
hold it for you.
That's a
All
fire
right, all
album.
right, all right.
The
It
guitar
makes me feel so
part-
bad about
bro,
myself every time I come
the
up here
last
and put
guitar
like a different
master.
dude
I swear
up
to
there
God.
on the screen.
Young man.
And it just makes
Last
me really
guitar
question like what I stand for as a human being.
Although the celebrity response wasn't entirely negative, many defended her online, like Katy Perry, Kevin Hart.
Katie need to shut the fuck up. Ain't she going through people saying that she sexually assaulted people? I swear to God.
Ashton Kutcher and Jay Leno.
Good.
Regardless, though, the damage
Well,
was done.
really
And
not.
2 years
Hold
after
up.
her show was
She shouldn't shut
canceled,
the
she
fuck
finally
up if
opened
that
up
was
about
true.
everything in a Q&A. She said, "I'm making jokes about what happened to me,
I'm
but
just
it was
saying.
devastating. It took a long time for me to want to do anything
calling
again.
the
The
kettle
hate went
black.
on for a long time, and I would try to avoid looking at the news. The Be Kind girl wasn't kind. That was the headline. And when Ellen was finishing her stand-up run, she announced it would be her last time in the public eye. When asked by a fan in July whether they'd be able to see her doing film or Broadway in the future, she simply replied, no, this is the last time you're going to see me. And that's been pretty much the case as she moved to England in 2024, opting for the quiet life, which honestly, I
she
think I
did.
have to respect here. Most
She
people
did
that
the
get
Russell
canceled
Simmons.
always try to keep making comebacks and stuff. Seemed
That
like
nigga
Ellen
said,
just
"Let me go to
accepted the way it
Dubai."
was and dipped, which I gotta respect. A Reddit user justified her canceling, explaining her brand was about being nice and approachable. It was revealed that she was actually mean and unapproachable. After that came out, the show wasn't going to be able to keep enough viewers to justify its existence. It's not just she was mean, it was how her being mean impacted her market value. And that's just it. Unlike others on this list who you may not know about, Ellen's was a bit more public, and when it came out that the nice person was actually not a nice person, it kind of ruined everything. So I guess the moral of the story in this case is to practice what you preach. And while Ellen was eventually caught and faced the consequences of her actions, the same can't entirely be said for Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt is one of the biggest actors of all time, and you could even say he's one of the most loved. However, well, to the world, he's Tyler Durden from Fight Club or Davis Mills from Seven, or honestly just a seemingly nice guy.
No, that nigga is Brad Pitt. I ain't never seen no movie with Brad Pitt in that bitch, bro. Troy. That's the only movie I seen with that nigga in it, to be real with you.
Do you think even in Fight Club, he was still like...
I never watched Fight Club.
Man, you should check that out.
Never watched Fight Club. Yeah.
I listen to John Mayer. You'll watch Fight Club.
It's a deal. It's a fucking deal.
In most of his public appearances, after a bunch of allegations from his ex-wife Angelina Jolie, that might not be the case anymore. Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie split up back in 2016, but since the two were so wealthy and owned a bunch of stuff together, it was pretty complicated and dragged out. Years later, in court papers related to a legal battle over a French winery they once owned together, she claims that he was abusive to her and their children during a 2016 plane ride, and that this was even a major part of the reason for their divorce. Her filing goes on to describe an extended physical and verbal outburst in September 2016 as Mr. Pitt, Miss Jolie, and their 6 children flew from France to California. Pitt choked one of the children and struck another in the face, and grabbed Jolie by the head and shook her. The filing states, adding that at one point he poured beer on Jolie, at another he poured beer and red wine on the children. And this is insane that he was beating his wife and his kids, and then to top it all off, he poured a bunch of alcohol on them, which is that's just disrespectful and unnecessary. Federal authorities investigated the incident, but eventually declined to bring criminal charges. And days after the plane trip, Angelina filed for divorce. Brad and his team at first ignored and even denied the claims, but nonetheless, a lengthy
Didn't they both cheat with their spouses when they was making the movie Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
I don't know.
I swear to God, they were married. They were both married to different people. He was married to like Gwyneth Paltrow, and she was married to like Vince Vaughn or somebody like that at that time.
I'm gonna take your word for it. I have no idea.
Swear to God, bro. And they made that movie Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and they was cheating on their spouses with each other at the time that they was making the movie, and that's when they got together. That's when Jennifer. No, was it Jennifer Aniston? I don't know. I know.
I don't know about Jennifer Aniston. I mean, I don't know.
She was in the cycle. She was in the cycle around. Hold up. Let's look up some white goss real quick. This is white goss. White goss with 2 black guys. Let's see. How do I even phrase this? Who did Jolie cheat with? Yeah, boom.
That's crazy that we can Google that. That's crazy.
It says, who did her dad cheat with? That's even crazier. You can Google that. Who was her dad?
I thought she was with like Billy Bob or something.
She was with Billy Bob for a little bit. Yep.
Yeah. That's like the extent of what I know.
Yeah, that's what I thought. He was married to Jennifer Aniston at that time. Yep. So, and then I think she was married to somebody else. Or maybe she had just got out of a marriage with somebody else. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's definitely...
Divorce followed with custody battles and lawsuits alike. And apparently the reason Angelina finally came forward about the abuse years later is because she has gone to great lengths to try to shield their children from reliving the pain Pitt inflicted on the family that day. But when Pitt filed his lawsuit seeking to reassert control over Jolie's financial life and compel her to rejoin her ex-husband as a frozen out business partner, Pitt forced Jolie to publicly defend herself on these issues for the first time. The fight apparently started after Angelina said that Brad was being too differential about their children children, and then he began to yell at her in the bathroom. The suit says Pitt grabbed Jolie by the head and shook her, and then grabbed her shoulders and shook her again before pushing her into the bathroom wall. Pitt then punched the ceiling of the plane numerous times, prompting Jolie to leave the bathroom. When one of the kids went to defend their mother, court papers say Brad lunged at them, causing Angelina to grab him from behind. During this, Brad choked one of the children and struck another in the face. The whole ordeal had a
angry man.
Shit. Brother. No, not brother. Nigga, get some help. If any of this is true, she look like Esmeralda. Jeez. I can see your AC joint.
Ton of other small details, but the point is, it was bad. It was really bad. In a 2017 interview with GQ, Brad said that he had a drinking problem at the time of the plane incident and the split, but had since become sober and was going to therapy. And pretty much aside from like more vague statements like this, he hasn't really acknowledged the incidents. And as for the winery suit, he recently has been winning some procedural battles, but aside from that, we'll have to wait for the results. And while Brad Pitt's allegations are bad and would probably really hurt his image if more people knew about them, Mark Wahlberg's are horrible. And somehow he still managed to have a career afterward. Mark Wahlberg is as big, if not bigger, than any other actor or celebrity I've mentioned so far. Unlike some of the others on this list though, he might have one of the wildest and most scumbag-like stories of all time. And while a lot of fans may be somewhat familiar with it, what they don't know is key details and the history which makes it all the much more worse. Mark's legal issues first began with racially motivated attacks as a teenager in 1986 and 1988. In 1986,
I've heard about this. That's why I raised my hand, because I'm like, I've heard about it, but I didn't do my due diligence. I didn't do my mathematics. I didn't do that.
No, let me tell you, it's something different about him.
Yeah. Drewski.
He can act,
15-year-old Mark and three.
Did you see him when he was on Drewski?
I don't think that. I'm not a Mark Wahlberg can act type of guy.
Really?
Yeah. No.
It depends on the role.
I know. I think that he's just a worse Matt Damon.
Damn.
Honestly. I think Matt Damon is not a great actor. But everything I see Mark Wahlberg in, I was like, if Matt Damon was in, it would be a better movie.
Damn. I just saw a movie, I think it was on Amazon or something, that just released and he's in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I laughed a lot.
Oh, you thought it was good?
I mean, it was a ridiculous movie, but I laughed a lot.
This guy likes to laugh at his he's got
You saw him when he was with Drewski, though, right?
He's got Stockholm syndrome.
No, but you saw him when he was with Drewski, right?
But I've been wanting to watch that on stream, but no, I didn't see it yet.
Here's what I'll say: when you do watch it,
I'm gonna laugh.
Pay attention to how Mark Wahlberg responds when he shakes the hand of somebody black on there.
Okay.
Friends chased 3 black children while yelling, "Kill the N-word," and throwing rocks at them. The next day, Mark and the others followed a group of mostly black 4th graders, including a victim from the previous day, taking a field trip on the beach. During this occasion, they yelled racial slurs, threw rocks at them, and got other white males in on the harassment. Later that year, civil action was filed against Mark for violating the civil rights of his victims, and Mark and his friends were issued a civil rights injunction, which basically served as a warning that they'd be jailed if they did another hate crime. However, these stories probably come as an even more surprise, as the more public offense only came 2 years later. In 1988, Mark...
Hey, listen, you did 2. 3, we gotta come and put you in jail. Like, man, what?
If you do a discussion to be had,
I'm gonna be honest with you. If you break another law, that's when we're coming for you.
It wasn't just about the law broken; it was about who it was against. You know what I'm saying?
We know. But that's the thing, is that you got to put it in the real realm, because if you don't, then it's like, well, yeah, black people. No, fuck it. I ain't gonna say fuck black people, because that's what I was about to say at first.
We definitely don't want that sentiment.
Fuck that. Because these same people who don't like to agree with it be the same people who be law and order motherfuckers.
What you mean by that?
Like, they agree with the law and order, and they be like, well, you shouldn't be able to come into my house, and First Amendment, Second Amendment, shit like that. So it's like, if that's the case, then how can you do this?
It's a convenience of thought type situation.
We understand that it's a black thing, but you can't offer that to people, because sometimes people not gonna take it for the black thing. But if you can offer them, that's what black people don't have to do. Nigga, it's a violation of the fucking Constitution. Fuck the
system
bullshit.
wasn't built with us in mind. I ain't gonna serious us out though.
No, you right, bro. I'm not trying to disagree with it because people gonna listen to this and they're gonna be like, "See, that's that." No, I because I want people to know I do agree with it, but it's just also, bro, they gonna always use the system against us. If we can at least try to say this, they gonna still use the system against us. But maybe once or two times, it might be the system who say, them niggas right. And that's what's happened to us so many times being here in America, where it's been like, you know what? They was right on this shit.
In a perfect world, the laws will be equal for everyone. Move smart, be intelligent.
Yeah. I'm not gonna be combative.
Who was then 16, assaulted a middle-aged Vietnamese American man on the street, calling him a Vietnam shit and knocking him unconscious with a large wooden stick. Later the same day, he attacked Johnny Trin, another Vietnamese American, punching him in the eye. When Mark was arrested and returned to the scene of the first assault, he told police officers, "I'll tell you now, that's the motherfucker whose head I split open." I don't know about you guys, but before researching this, I had no idea how bad this actually was. Maybe like many of you, I thought the extent of
before you researched this, I didn't know how bad it was either.
His crimes or hate crimes were limited to just one person,
yet
yet somehow it's much worse. Mark later admitted that his sting of violence was fueled by the PCP, but that obviously doesn't excuse his crimes. And naturally, investigators noted that the slurs continued, with Mark making numerous unsolicited racial comments about G-words and slant eyes, and I can't really say a lot of this stuff, but you get the gist. As a result of his actions, Mark was arrested for attempted murder. Then he was charged with 2 counts of assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, 1 count of marijuana possession, and criminal contempt for violating the civil rights injunction he received in 1986. He pleaded guilty to felony assault and was sentenced to 3 months in jail, but only served 45 days of his sentence. At first, Mark even believed he had left the second victim permanently blind in one eye, but Trin later said that he had actually lost the eye during the Vietnam War while serving in the Army of the Republic of Vietnam. After this, though, I guess on the bright side,
black people in this day and age, I feel like we want to be American more than we ever have because so many of our foundational black people built this country. So it's like, bro, we deserve to be a part of this country. Being born here is one thing, but it's also like my ancestors and way more people before me built this country to be what it is. So it just be like, why wouldn't you want to accept people who want to be here and actually are from here? That don't make sense to me. Like, people fighting this battle against people who not even from here, and that shit is wrong. But like, nigga, we from this bitch and y'all fighting that battle against us. And we fuck with this bitch because we helped build it. It wouldn't be no White House if it wasn't for black people. We built that bitch. Slaves built the White House.
We weren't always considered a full man, like a full human.
Yeah.
You know?
The
percentage of our worth was seen as less.
Definitely.
So when you look at the history of it, it would make sense that that kind of biasness can occur because the country wasn't built with us in mind.
I get the biasness, but we've lived in the country long enough to where it's like, this country ain't been a country that long for you to keep having this biasness.
Now, I feel you on that because we are in 2026, but
I'm not saying
who has all the old money, who make all the rules.
I can agree with you with that 100%. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that if you open up that ability to be more open with the fact that we want to be and we are a part and we're one of the stronger parts of what we build in this country, especially from the entertainment aspect, which is one of our biggest exports, because we don't export shit in America. We're always in a trade deficit. So that's the reason why all this tariff shit is so. No, I don't want to get into that.
That's a whole
I don't want to get into that. But it's just, if your biggest export is what we have built in the last 60 to 100 years, it just make more sense to say, you know what, let's be more encompassing. I get what you're saying. I'm not saying that the shit wasn't built against us. 100%. I'm saying it's time for motherfuckers to open their eyes and realize, like, and this is a weird way to say it. Your propaganda machine can't even work without black people. Because we are the biggest entertainment segment of this country. Regardless of how much of a percentage we make. We can influence.
Whatever we make in those fields, though, is not equal to what's being made from us.
But it's, no, 100%. But it's about the influence. The Allen Iversons, the Glorillas, the people that influence and change. It's like, bro, that's not something that's just happening in America. That's something that's happening worldwide. That's why people dress like Allen Iverson across the globe. Mm-hmm. They didn't just dress like Allen Iverson in America. Because that's what we export. We don't export goods. We export entertainment. We export glamour. We don't export the things that they export. They export goods.
But do any of these people have the power to
no.
change anything?
Hell no.
Or is it just
definitely not
the image that they give off?
Definitely. But that's what I'm saying is that image, it needs to be more understood by the people who are in power for them to understand that is the next phase. And y'all are low-key 40 years behind of it now.
The people in power understand. There's a reason LeBron James talks the way he does. There's a reason he's like perfectly safe.
I can agree with that.
You know?
I can agree with that.
Mark's racially motivated crime spree was finally over. In a somewhat ironic turn of events, the next physical altercation Mark publicly got in was when he broke his neighbor's jaw after the neighbor allegedly called Mark's black friend a slur. So maybe he turned his life around and now he's fighting for the good guys. I don't know. Since then, Mark met up with one of his victims in an attempt to redeem himself, and the victim even accepted his apology. But then Mark decided to try to get his charges pardoned, which ended up looking pretty bad, so he gave up on that. So if you're wondering, yes, Mark Wahlberg is still a felon, but who knows? Maybe he's trying to turn his life around for the better. The next person on our list isn't quite a felon, but they have been accused of a handful of bad things similar to Ellen, and that would be Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil, like Ellen.
I thought it was.
Nah, I knew once it.
Bro, I thought it was the person there.
I done heard a lot about Dr. Phil.
Low-key, I have too. I heard that this nigga not a doctor. One.
Facts. That's what I done heard. I didn't do the research, so but
he ain't doing due diligence.
Is arguably one of the biggest, or at least the most notorious TV hosts of all time. And also similarly to Ellen, Dr. Phil has had some tough allegations against him relating to his conduct on the set of his show. Now, it's not too uncommon for viewers to have issues with how Dr. Phil handles his guests. A lot of people view the entire premise of the show as exploiting people who are already in a bad spot. But the issues run a little deeper than just that, as current and former Dr. Phil employees say that the set is a toxic workplace that fosters fear, intimidation.
I'm saying, you go and work for the Dr. Phil show. I'm sorry. The whole show is based off toxic shit. Of course, it's a toxic workplace. That's like
I
going.
think most places for entertainment is a toxic workplace.
Definitely. I feel like, I hate to say it, that's what breeds creativity to an extent.
I don't know about that.
I feel like a lot of people who were in toxic environments created the things that got them out of those toxic environments. I'm not saying that this shit should be acceptable. I'm just saying that it does breed creativity.
I think it breeds motivation.
That's a better way of saying it.
Yeah, that's what I think.
That's a better way of saying it.
If you go to work and your place that you work is toxic, you are more motivated to use your time to help you escape that place when you leave.
I agree with that 100%. 100%. Yeah.
And racism. 7 of the employees also say guests, who are often brought onto the show when they're already in a vulnerable state, are manipulated and treated unethically, which again, similar to Ellen, is a pretty tough reality considering the show is supposed to be about helping people. 11 of the employees, all of whom asked to remain anonymous because they fear retaliation and retribution, say their own mental health was damaged and disrupted at the expense of working for Phil McGraw. And their stories are pretty wild. One employee spoke on how the whole experience is miserable, with dread and anxiety hanging in the air. The same employee expanded on the irony of how all the workers for a show about mental health suffer from terrible mental health because of the conditions. And while summers off were a brief break, as soon as filming began again, all the hell came back. One employee said, I would have nightmares. I would literally be working in my sleep and have nightmares about something being wrong or not turning in something the right way. Even when I quit, I had to go to therapy for it, which is crazy because you're working for a therapist. None of the employees said that Dr. Phil was directly involved or even really knew about the treatment, but they wondered how it was possible for him not to, as many employees remember being screamed at in front of many other crew members, or in other cases encouraged to push racist stereotypes on screen, or even being treated in a racist manner themselves. And when it came to guest conduct, the staff was often encouraged to make situations worse. Like for example, when one employee mentioned being told to instruct a guest to not take her medication before going on stage. And allegations like these are actually very common when it comes to Dr. Phil episodes. On one occasion, crew members were screamed at and called idiots, and another guests were mocked for their appearances and behaviors, especially relating to race. And there are plenty of stories like these picturing the show as about as toxic as it gets behind the scenes. Many employees recount feeling destroyed after working on the show, or that they felt forced to quit since they couldn't take it anymore. It got to the point for many that they were afraid to speak out to HR out of fear of retaliation. Well, again, these are all allegations, but in tandem with everything
whatever he was saying, he said, nope, can't say none of that shit no more. Look how abrupt this cut is.
Well, again, these are all allegations, but in tandem with everything else, it doesn't seem really good. And if Dr. Phil's issue was bad enough, editors have pointed out plenty of other issues as well. So while it seems Dr. Phil may not have... If you like this video, you may be interested in the video I mentioned in the intro, which is about musicians who were very beloved by the fans, but actually had some skeletons in their closet. So if that interests you, make sure to click the video that's on screen right now.
Yeah. He might have got hit with that goddamn copyright infringement. Nigga said, "Nah, ain't no Dr. Phil slander on this bitch, boy.
Cut that out.
You better take that down, boy."
They want to make sure we monetize.
Shout out my man's Visionary Wordsmith. We appreciate dog in the building. You already know what it is.